everyone. Today we got to play Poseidon's Kingdom. So this game is ranged 8 from 12 and up. It's a cute little game. But before we get into it, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell because you want to see more of us and the different games that we're going to play. Randy, tell us more about the game.
This is Poseidon's Kingdom. It was released in 2011. Board Game Geek gives it a 6.8. It was released by Game Salute. The designers are Fraser Lamont and Gordon Lamont. It seems like it's a family thing because the artists were Judith Lamont, so it seems like a family release. And then Dan May. It's an area movement, dice rolling, memory, and tile placement game. And it's available on Amazon for $139.99. But there's a Board Game Geek reseller or selling their copy for $38 like new that said they don't think they've even played it. So that's a steal. So if you're interested in this game, go check that out. $38 is a steal. Once you see the pieces alone, you'll see it's worth $38 for that.
Yeah. So let's talk about quality of pieces. So the quality of pieces, you have these really cool see-through dice. Those are pretty standard.
They're smaller than normal dice.
They are smaller, but I think with what's going on, you kind of almost have to have them a little bit smaller. You also have these pretty thick cardboard tiles that you'll place where you build your little coral reef. You also have the same kind of thickness for the victory point tokens, as well as the special endgame scoring that you could possibly get at the end of the game. So those are all very good quality, I believe. Same thing with the board and the sideboard. The really interesting, cool piece of this is got to be the ceramic layer tiles.
These are beautiful. They are all ceramic. All of the fish in the game are ceramic.
They're absolutely gorgeous. They're well painted. I mean, these are just breathtaking. And I know when we were at GenCon, we walked by. Randy saw these pieces. He didn't care anything else about the game. He ended up just buying
went back.
it.
I walked by. I kind of tried to watch people looking at it, and I came back once the crowd died down, and I came back and bought a copy just because they were adorable. I mean,
yes, and we had hoped that maybe it was a kid-friendly game a little bit later because of the cuteness factor. So this is actually the first time we have gotten it out, but quality of piece-wise, these are just phenomenal. Everything else is good quality.
Yeah, there's nothing bad about it. I mean,
like these are like 10 level pieces, but the rest of the game I feel is more like a 7. What's your thoughts?
No, I agree. But I don't think any of this stuff's bad. I mean,
no, that's what I'm saying. 7, all of it's good.
The cardboard is all above standard cardboard quality.
Yeah, all of it's good.
I guess the weakest part is the wave itself because you use the wave to roll and it's a little wobbly. I think it could have used another support in there. But apart from that, but it functions. I mean, I think we only have one issue with it when I bumped it once, and that was the only problem. It works fine.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think a 7, but these pieces are really above.
Yeah,
it's hard to grade these with the rest of the game.
Well, I think it's going to have to pull it up some. I'm going to probably give it an 8.5 because of those. I mean, these are just so outstanding.
I know, that's what I'm saying. Like the pieces themselves, I'm like 10, but the rest of it's kind of a 7. And so you're right. If you kind of average it out, it's probably an 8, 8.5. So moving on to theme. It was super cute, and I think it was very relevant.
I love this scene.
Oh, absolutely. Well, you're trying to move your fish. You're trying to not get eaten by the shark. The shark goes in 8 patterns, but you're trying to save your friends from the evil octopus. And
it goes in a figure 8 pattern.
Right.
It doesn't go through 8 patterns.
No, figure 8 pattern. But then you also have the rolling of the dice through the wave. Which, I mean, all of this stuff is very well themed. It meshes really, really well.
Yeah.
For theme, I gotta give this a 10. I think it really brings it to you.
The art, the art combined with all of that. I mean, it's just beautiful. It has definitely got a table presence, and if anyone stops and looks at these components, these pieces, especially if they pick them up, because they're probably going to be looking at them, they're probably going to think those are just plastic. These are ceramic. But
I mean, theme-wise, it is good. It feels good in this game.
I would say that the only thing that's odd about it, thematically I agree it's a 10. The odd thing about it, though, is the age on it. Because of the game itself, I think it would be great for someone Sarah's age. But
8 plus instead of 12 plus.
But the problem is that they have to know how to read to look at those bonus tiles, which counters, and you got to be concerned about them playing roughly with the pieces.
Yeah.
So it's almost like they should have made a resin for that purpose, but I'm glad they didn't because these are so beautiful. I mean, you want to display these.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think I kind of, it's like an odd choice to use the ceramic pieces, but I love them. So because this is really a kid-friendly game. I would say 10 definitely on theme though. I mean, they knocked it out of the park.
So moving on to rules, it didn't take you very long to read the rules.
Well, the rules are really short, but there's a few places I had to go back and read a few times to get them clear because they had examples, but the examples were really bad. Like the pictures they had were like before the action, as opposed to showing you like after showing the arrows to show you what happened. So like the pictures were like how the board would start, and then you were supposed to do things afterwards, like moving the pieces.
We've had this somewhere else too.
Yeah, it's
what
happened
other game
before.
was that?
I can't recall, but we've had this problem in a few other rule books. The other thing that was really odd about it was they made some, like, I guess they were supposed to be jokes in the rule book, like as asides, but they were really bad jokes. So you weren't really sure what they were talking about.
You mean they were dad jokes?
No, they weren't even that. I mean, they were just, it didn't make any sense. I mean, some of them I'm like, okay.
I did like the last tidbit with the tie-breaking one.
The tiebreaker was really cool.
That one was hilarious.
The in-game scoring, you basically have some victory point tiles, and then there's some bonus tiles you can collect. But then there's a whole series of like levels of tiers of tiebreakers. And the final one is if it's still a tie, then all the non-tied players actually win the game because they had to sit there and be bored out of their minds while the tied players tried to work out the tiebreaker. And that was really funny. So this is the first time I've ever seen the non-winning players actually win the game if the tie goes that far down.
So I thought that was actually really, really cute.
Yeah.
So overall,
I'll give
a score.
I'll give the rules a 6.5. I don't think they were bad. They weren't horrible. It was just it shouldn't have taken as long for me to read them as it did because I had to keep checking back on things to try to understand what they were saying because the references and the pictures were not great. And I was completely baffled by the humor. I guess it was supposed to be humor. It was not even a joke. It didn't make sense. It was just like comments made in parentheses. And it's like, I spent time trying to figure out their joke, and I never did.
Yeah. So moving on to actual gameplay. So the gameplay is actually pretty straightforward. So after the board setup, you as a player, you have a couple of actions. You can place dice onto the wave. Based on where the highest wave location that you have on your mini map, if you will, that you create with these tiles, or you can place an additional tile onto your map. Now, again, there's a couple of mechanics to that. Is that when you place a tile, you cannot overlap a single tile over and over again. Like you have to cover 2 tiles.
It has to cover 2 tiles.
You can't have it hanging.
Yeah.
And as well as that, so there's those pieces to it.
When we talk about the wave, though, there's a wave board that fills up based on number of players. You have a different distribution. And whenever that completely fills, then the wave crashes. And that's how you roll the dice onto the board. And that was a really cool mechanism in this game.
Yeah.
So it distributes the dice and into different tiers on the board, which allow you to consume the dice, which we'll get to in a minute.
Yeah.
But that was really a cool way of distribution. And every time it crashes, everybody gets a bonus based on the pips that they have available and showing out on the board.
Yeah, so you obviously want more dice on there. So after you decide whether to place dice onto the wave or you decide to place your tile, then you can actually move your character. So based on the movement action on the highest location of your mini map, you get to move that many actions. Or move that many spaces onto the board.
You can only do that with 1 fish. You can't split it. You have 2 fish on the board. You can only choose 1 fish to move.
Yes, absolutely. So then you move it, and depending on where you land, you'll get to decide how many dice to eat if they're available based on the highest level of the eat icon that you have on
I
your
thought that
main
was
map.
a really neat mechanism of building up your tableau to have trigger the icons based on the height of them on your board.
So it kind of forced you to like build them, but you got to be careful, trying to build, because you place over them, then you don't have anything.
Well, there's that, and then there's the whole aspect of the skeletons, which we'll get to in a minute.
Yes.
But you want to have a distribution spaces outward to have spaces for that, because you can get really hosed if you get skeletons covering up your icons. But we'll get to it.
Yeah, absolutely. So with that, so when you land, you get to option to choose how many dice you're going to eat or use, and you use those dice to actually free your friends. So we'll talk about that here in a minute. And then after you decide what dice you're eating and how many, then you get to move the shark based on the location that you landed. And if that shark ends up going through a person's fish, either your own or other people, they get 8, which then gives you the dead fish icon, which you have to place on your mini map, which could end up destroying your actions. And I think that's where you're getting into.
Mm-hmm.
If it covers that action, you don't get it. So that's actually really, really can be really, really rough if you've really constrained yourself very tightly, and then you place those on a level 3. That would like make me cry. So, so you might want to make sure you diversify and actually spread out that map. Now, as far as saving your friends on this other board where the octopus has them, so there's different goals that you're trying to achieve. 7 total dice. So if you can eat 2 dice, a 3 and a 4, or 1 and a 6, or heck, if there's 3 2s and a 1, but then you have to be able to eat that many dice, which that's the hard part, right? Because you got to get your dice icon up high enough. And then a low double, so a 1, 2, or 3 double, or a 4, 5, 6 double for the high double, and then any 3 in a row. So you have all those that you're trying to get, and as you complete those, you get to take your little star, your icon, off that board, and you save that particular friend from their fate.
And you get a victory point token, which is diminishing from top down in the stack. So the earlier you get it, the better.
Right. So you want to complete them as quickly as possible. And then the other piece of it is you have another fish here. So if someone actually uses your dice over here on this board, you get to move your icon 1 space.
Not your icon, your fish.
Your fish 1 space. And if you make a complete circle, you get a free icon.
Yeah, you get to save your friend
from your next closest, right? So it's in a circle. So I thought that was actually pretty cool. Mm-hmm. So if people keep eating up your dice, there is a benefit because, and I think there might be a strategy there. Just keep placing dice.
Well, the other thing you get, if you also get that, in addition to that, you get to look at one of the in-game bonus tiles, and because you can kind of strategize which ones you'd like to get. But you have to remember for the whole game what that tile was, because you can't look again afterward. Mm-hmm. So, I thought that was a cool memory aspect to the game. But also, there's a negative victory point tile in there based upon these dead skeletons. So, if you blind draw, you may get that one. There's only one bad one in the bunch, but yeah, you can avoid that one by looking and remembering.
Yeah, so I thought that was actually pretty interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So there were a lot of cool things about this game that I really appreciated. I do think there is some strategy to it. I think it's in depth, but at the same time, it's easy enough for kids to kind of grasp the concept for. I actually really, really enjoyed this game. I'm probably going to give this a 7. I would definitely play this again with Sarah. Because I feel like it only can get better as she ages.
Yeah, because the one obstacle, as we mentioned earlier, with a younger child like Sarah, is Sarah's not quite fully reading yet. She's kind of half and half. And if you have to have a sneak peek at one of those tiles to look at it, she can't really help her with it. And she doesn't really understand yet the strategy of in-game bonus. So, it's not something you can really help guide her on. So it was kind of like, we're just going to have to let her take the luck of the draw on those. As it turned out, she didn't end up getting any of those either. But, I think she had more fun just moving the fish around anyway.
Yeah. So are they capable of winning that young? No.
Yeah,
but is it fun for them?
Yeah, as long as they have fun with the cute fish, that's all I think that matters.
So, and she had fun building her little map over here. So there's a lot of things
she really liked placing the dice on the wave.
Mm-hmm. So overall, what would you give
I'm
it?
probably right there with you with a 7 as far as the game. It's not something I'm going to play without children. I don't think I'm going to get it out without children being there because it's just not.
You might show off the
strategy.
pieces.
Yeah, I might show off the pieces. The strategy isn't heavy enough for me, I don't think, for playing as adults, without having a child present. But this is a great family game.
Oh, absolutely! This is a really good family game.
And yeah, I really thought they put some clever mechanics in it. I love the dice rolling with the wave. That was really cool. It was really thought out well too, because if the dice go too far and fall off the table or off the board, then you put them back onto the wave. But if half or more of them fall off, then everything gets re-rolled.
Yeah. I'm actually really excited to expose my mother and my sister to this. I think this one would be a good. I think this would be a little good fit. Definitely fun.
I think definitely your sister's children would enjoy it. They're older, some of them, the older ones.
So overall, great. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us. We had a blast, and hopefully you did too. We'd love to see you guys again. We'll catch you later.
Bye.